And I didn't even plan to raise. Like I
Okay.
was getting messages, hey, are you fundraising? And my reply was like, yeah, we are polishing our deck. Can I send it in a week? And I'm going on Google and writing like how to create a pitch deck 101 and stuff like that. Funny enough, we also had a conversation with Reddit's co-founder, Alexis Ohanian. He
Hmm.
saw our tool. He reached out to us. Back then he had a fund 776. I think that was the name of it. But like he was like, I'm not gonna invest. I just wanna see who are the guys building this thing. And he was like, kudos for building it. I had the same idea, but couldn't. It didn't pass the Reddit's board, and it was literally kind of like a brute forcing type of thing to get the funding, because if we didn't get funding, we were literally bankrupt at that point. Yeah, I mean it was a real company. Like the investors before they funded us on the last call, they were like, "Okay, have you hired anyone in your life?" We're like, "No." They're like, "Have you been to a job interview?" No. Do you know how to hire people? No. They're like, okay, before we wire the money, go open offices, hire people, stuff like that, and then we are gonna do it. Fun thing is that HeyReach couldn't scale past 8,000 MRR for the first 6 7 months after we launched. Like we were trying to sell to everyone, we were trying to sell to recruiters, sales teams, agencies, individuals, stuff like that. And Ilya, I remember this in October 2023. He came to my office and he was like, dude, I have had 597 calls so far, and I do believe we should niche down to lead gen agencies. First thing is, uh, I would have hired senior people earlier in the team, and I wouldn't have built the product with juniors. Because, fun fact, HeyReach initially was built by juniors, completely by juniors. We didn't have a senior person. We couldn't get a senior to join the company.
Let's call it you're trying to get to 20 million now. That's your next step, right? How many people on your team have worked at a $20 million company? This is what my coach always tells me. He's like, so how are you going to know how to react and how are you going to know how the company needs to be and operate at that point if no one on your team's ever been there?
But I also always say this thing, like you can create luck. You can
Yeah.
put yourself in situations where you become lucky. And yeah, you cannot control when's the moment when you become lucky. But if you put yourself in enough situations where you can get lucky, at some point you probably are going to get lucky. So yeah, you
Yeah.
have to work toward becoming lucky.
Welcome back to Prospecting Pros. And on today's show, we have Nick, see if I pronounce it right,
Yep.
Velkovski,
Velkovski. Yeah.
Velkovski, who is the founder and CEO at HeyReach. Thanks for coming on the show. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
So, what I like to do is start off every show just by getting a little bit of your background. How did you get to the point of actually starting a company? What many people dream about doing and never have the guts to do. Like, walk us through maybe through college and then your first few jobs and the ups and downs and how you got to the point of actually starting HeyReach.
I wanted to be a founder and have my own startup since I was in high school, I would say, like when I was 17, 18-year old. I finished high school and then I went to study computer science and engineering. Fun fact, I was thinking between astrophysics and computer science. So I'm glad I chose computer science. The first year of studies, I wanted to drop out. I mean, I didn't like the whole university type of thing, but I liked building things. I liked like-minded people, and I met my mentor, who is currently VP of engineering at HeyReach. He taught me how to code, and he was building a startup back then, so I kind of like joined him. During university, like I started and failed, I would say like maybe 10 plus projects. I met Stefan, my co-founder, first year of university. We became best friends, listening to the same music, having the same interests and stuff like that. And we were like, okay, let's try to build our own company. We failed, as I said, like 10 times. We had a bunch of businesses. But apparently, when we were last year of university, we developed a Reddit marketing tool called Howitzer, and I kind of like discovered indie hackers back then, the forum, and I learned about building in public. So I went on Twitter, on LinkedIn, on indie hackers, and Reddit, talking about building business in public. And long story short, we raised the biggest investment in Macedonia back then for my tool Howitzer. It was $500,000. Back then, with those money, you could build like a whole building in Macedonia.
Mm.
We burned the money in a year. We failed the product because like it lacked first, like the business model was a leaky bucket, and second, Reddit didn't like what we were doing. And naturally we kind of like pivoted to something else, and that something else was HeyReach. So we started HeyReach like 3 years ago. We scaled from 0 to 16 million ARR in 3 years. We are running it as a profitable company, and yeah, that's pretty much a quick summary of my life.
That's pretty incredible that you were in college thinking of ideas to start a business. I can't say the same. And I was in college thinking about, I played tennis and that was my life, training and tennis, and your school was part of the mix and social life. But starting a company it didn't even cross my mind other than like a dream. So the fact that you are so young and had already started and you're already on your second business is pretty cool. Um, Now, that part where you actually got the funding, and at the time you said it was the biggest in the country, like how was that process? How did you go about actually going out to raise, and what did you sell the investors on? Like they clearly thought you were onto something. Walk us through that process.
Yeah. So when I launched Howitzer, I went on LinkedIn and I kind of like just started building in public. And there was a tech journalist. I don't remember his name, but the newsletter was called Startups Crashing It. And he was like, "Hey, would you be down for an interview?" I gave him an interview, and little did I know back then, like all of the VCs were subscribed to his newsletter, and he put us like somewhere in the top line. And I got a bunch of VCs reaching out to me, and I didn't even plan to raise. Like I was getting messages, "Hey, are you fundraising?" And my reply was like, "Yeah, we are polishing our deck. Can I send it in a week?" And I'm going on Google and writing like how to create a pitch deck 101 and stuff like that. Funny enough, we also had a conversation with Reddit's co-founder, Alexis Ohanian. He
Hmm.
saw our tool. He reached out to us. Back then he had a fund, 776, I think that was the name of it. But like he was like, I'm not gonna invest. I just wanna see who are the guys building this thing. And he was like, kudos for building it. I had the same idea, but couldn't, it didn't pass the Reddit's board.
Hmm.
So yeah, we got kind of like approached by VCs. We didn't plan to raise. And funny enough, the whole fundraising process was kind of like we were learning by doing it. So what I was doing, like we created the deck, and then I'm scheduling the first calls. Like I'm scheduling, let's say, most of them on Monday and Tuesday. We are hopping on one call. We are pitching. They're finding holes in the idea. There is a guy. It was Marian, my mentor. He was in the call and he was just writing down. We have half an hour between the first call and the second call. We are changing the deck. We are changing
Uh-huh.
the narrative and everything. Then we are hopping on the call. We are addressing the issues. They find new issues. Then for the next one, and it was literally kind of like a brute forcing type of thing to get the funding, because if we didn't get funding, we were literally bankrupt at that point. Like
Well,
my
you're in
parents,
college. You don't typically have a lot of funds. Most people don't at that age, right? You've never
exactly.
really worked too
But
much.
like me and Stefan, we were working before that, like some jobs, Upwork here and there. We made money. We were spending all of the money on servers, on the product, on, I don't know, paying someone on Upwork or Fiverr to do something for us. And also at home, I was having pressure. Like my mom was always, "When are you gonna find a real job? Until when are you gonna play with these startups? All of your friends are getting jobs." It was that kind of situation. So yeah, I'm super happy that we raised, and I would say that it's kind of like skyrocketed us into the business, and we had the funds and the time to learn and to do all of the mistakes. I I can tell you, like I probably did all of the mistakes a founder could do in their entrepreneurship journey. But yeah, you learn by doing so. So yeah.
And at that company, did you actually have did you hire what did you do with that money, and how did you burn through it exactly? Like what were some of those mistakes?
Yeah, I mean, it was a real company. Like the investors, before they funded us on the last call, they were like, "Okay, have you hired anyone in your life?" We're like, "No." They're like, "Have you been to a job interview?" No. "Do you know how to hire people?" No. They're like, "Okay, before we wire the money, go open offices, hire people, stuff like that, and then we are gonna do it. We are signing the term sheet and everything." So it was literally like we were hiring people, opening offices, learning how to do interviews and all of those things. We had 15 people at some point.
Okay.
Yeah, and kind of like we shut it down a year after we built it, and we pivoted away into something else. Fun enough, we wanted to expand. Like the global idea was to create outreach tools for all of the social networks. So we had a prototype for LinkedIn, prototype for Twitter, for Clubhouse, for even Product Hunt with email combination, even email outreach and stuff like that. But then we saw that none of the LinkedIn outreach tools on the market were built for teams, for scalability, for agencies, for kind of like running. We were calling it multi-account outreach back then, which is kind of like unlimited senders right now. So that was the bet we did, and we just went in that direction.
And how long was it from when you decided to close down the Reddit company and transition into HeyReach?
Yeah, so we shut it down, I think September, October 2022. Then we immediately started building HeyReach during the fall and winter. And we launched HeyReach April or May 2023.
Okay.
Like
Nice.
we built it in like 6 months, I would say.
Okay. So now about HeyReach, because I got a lot of questions. You notice a lot of the tools, because I've used a lot of the different LinkedIn tools over the years. You guys seem to be the ones that really got a lot of traction. Why do you think that is? And is it kind of what you were addressing? Like a lot of the tools were built for individuals, whereas you guys really were building for teams.
I mean, fun thing is that HeyReach couldn't scale past 8,000 MRR for the first 6-7 months after we launched. Like we were trying to sell to everyone. We were trying to sell to recruiters, sales teams, agencies, individuals, stuff like that. And Ilya, I remember this in October 2023. He came to my office and he was like, dude, I have had 597 calls so far, and I do believe we should niche down to lead gen agencies. I was like, no, we should go for recruiters. I was like, no, I'm sure we should niche down to lead gen agencies. I went to some trip on How to Web conference, and then I came back. I was full with ideas, and then I was like, okay, let's niche down to lead gen agencies. You're right. Let's test it out. We went on the pricing, just added, instead of selling per seats, we started selling bundles of seats, the agency plan and the unlimited plan. We just went on LinkedIn. We texted, hey guys, HeyReach is LinkedIn outreach for agencies. And from this point in the time, like it started blowing super hard. Like people started comparing us like, hey, this is instantly for LinkedIn or smartly for LinkedIn. The agency started talking about it, and it was a snowball effect after that, and everyone was speaking about the tool. If you remember, back in end of 2023, this was happening end of 2023, this is when Clay released the 𝐃𝐨𝐧'𝐭, and it was pretty new thing on the market. So the lead gen agencies, they were the growth hackers before that, and they started becoming LinkedIn influencers. Like if you remember back then, people weren't posting that much on LinkedIn. It wasn't considered as a channel where you generate leads by posting. They were posting like Clay for data sourcing, instantly or smart lead for email sequencing. And we here positioned like, hey, we are like instantly and smart lead for LinkedIn. And they started adding HeyReach in the stack. And the new agencies started seeing what these guys are doing and started copying, even sometimes stealing like exactly the same screenshots and the same pictures these guys started posting. And everyone turned into, all of the agencies, they found out that they can generate business by being transparent and sharing their stacks. So they started adding us into their stacks. The second super important thing we did here, we decided, we concluded that we don't know anything about the market. Like we are like, okay, we are tabula rasa, we don't know anything about the market. Let's just build what exactly the customers want. So what we did, we got all of the closed lost deals, and we got all of the churned customers with the reason why they churned or why did we lose the deal, and what was the potential of that deal. We built like in Excel sheet, like a pie, selected the top 3 features, and built only those 3 features. We are shipping.
How long ago was this?
This is beginning of 2024, I would say.
Okay.
When we released the API, webhooks, and white label. Before that, none of the LinkedIn outreach tools had API. And we built the API, and somebody said SmartLead had the best API, so we built it that granular as SmartLead is. and people started integrating us. And we were heavily betting that the industry is not going to be all in one, but the industry is going to be integrations. And keep in mind, this is a time when everyone was trying to build all in one. Everyone was like, oh, nobody wants to use a tool for data, and there's then a special tool for sending, and then a special Unibox and stuff like that. We were betting that everything is going to be so modular, and people would like to use tools that specialize in things, and we'll just connect them. This is before AI, before MCPs, before stuff like that.
Yeah. And well, you're spot on.
Yeah, if we didn't do that bet, I think we wouldn't be as big as we are today. And then it comes the clay integration, and then it comes the philosophy of us integrating with tools instead of building. So, for example, like instead of adding email sequencer within HeyReach, like building it ourselves, we just went and integrated with the top 3 email sequencers, where you can run multi-channel outreach by using all of them. So the idea of integrating and not building everything in-house and not complicating the product and staying super focused and specializing in what we are doing, I think that's crucial for the growth that we're having.
This episode is sponsored by LevelUp Leads, a B2B sales development and appointment setting agency. Companies always need pipeline, but they oftentimes don't want to hire SDRs internally. The whole process is risky and expensive. You've got hiring costs, onboarding, training, additional spend on your tech stack, a few months to ramp up. And with that being said, SDRs are a high turnover position, and the person you hire might not necessarily work out, so you need to start all over again. That's why companies outsource this. LevelUp Leads allocates a team of people, their tech stack, so you can onboard and launch your campaigns in about a week. They set qualified meetings in your calendar so your team has more selling opportunities. Visit levelupleads.io today to learn more. All right, now back to the show.
Yeah, I think here I'll tell you a little bit why. I mean, that's really smart, and I think that helped you guys a lot. So for us, we use calling, email, and LinkedIn, but we use 3 separate tools to do all those. And we're always that internal battle of, oh, we could use this tool over here, and they have 2 of those, or even there's a few that have all 3 of those in one. And it'd be just nice to consolidate, which is very true, right? But none of the tools that actually were combining the channels actually worked well. Like they just lacked a lot of the functionality and features that tools like HeyReach or tools like Orem, like they're just better when they focus on one channel. And yeah, it was a little bit of a pain to integrate, and we ended up having to build our own software to connect everything and report back to our clients. But the tools are just so much better that focus on that one channel. All the other ones that we were trying to use that added 2 or 3 of those channels into one, they just didn't work that well. So that was really smart. Yeah.
No, but it applies to the same philosophy. Like if you're a person, if you want to be successful in your life, there's saying, instead of trying to fix the things where you're bad, focus on the things where you're good. So let's say I'm really good at design, but I suck at coding. I can be trying to focus on coding and learning it and stuff like that, or I can just be the best designer I can be, right? So it's the same with specializing. I don't believe there is a tool that can be the best in everything. They can choose something super small and specialize and be the best there, because trust me, there is a ton of work just in LinkedIn sequencing. Like there is a roadmap for 2, 3, 4 years of building things. And imagine if you're a company building data source and orchestration and email sequencing and LinkedIn outreach and cold calling and Unibox and everything into one. I don't think any segment of that all-in-one product is going to be better than any specialization tool on the market.
Yeah. Well, it was a good bet on your part. There's also a lot of analogies like that even in sports. Though I don't know if you follow basketball, but if you can just shoot the 3 very well, even though you might not be that good on defense, someone's gonna find a spot for you just for that one thing that you do really well, even though you lack in other areas.
Exactly.
So the same can be used across different sports. Okay, so I haven't been to any HeyReach events. I've seen you came to Barcelona. I've seen on social media, you guys have kind of had this little world tour, I think is what you called it. Talk to me about what that is exactly. How did you organize it? How did you decide where to go? And what were the things you guys actually talk about at those events?
Yeah, so it happened super naturally. I met a guy in San Francisco who is Clay Club Warsaw, who is the representative for Clay Club Warsaw. And this was the first project that Clay had back in the day about organizing like Clay clubs in different cities. And he was like, "Hey, you want to do something with us, like HeyReach and Clay Club Warsaw?" And we were like, "Okay, let's try it." We went there. People loved it. We showcased some things. We showcased the integration. We shared some knowledge, some templates, stuff like that, and people really loved it. So we were like, "Okay, let's try to do it again on another place." We did Berlin, we did Valencia, we did Barcelona, and slowly we saw that, in the era where everyone is selling digitally, you're on your computer all the time and stuff like that, people really value in-person connections. Like they value in-person events, they value interesting conferences, they value parties and the whole human nature. So we were like, okay, let's try how this thing is going to work for us. And it worked really well because we are really big on ecosystem, on partners, on creators, on experts, stuff like that. So this paired super nicely. We are hosting an event around Place Cult, which is going to be with GTM Cafe. I'm not sure if it's public and I can share it, but YOLO. We are hosting a bunch of different events in different cities. And we even started doing a thing where if there is an event happening and one of our experts or partners is in the city and we are not there, sometimes we kind of like get them to talk on our behalf and be kind of like the HeyReach representative. So yeah, events and the ecosystem game is pretty big for us.
Do you guys think you'll continue to do that into the future?
Of course.
Yeah.
Of
All right.
course.
Well, if you come back to Barcelona, I was out of town when you guys were here. I think I was in Colombia, but I have to attend the next one.
Sure. For the next one, I'm counting you in.
So you've had a lot of success, right? You talked about you went from 3 million ARR, 3.5 million to now you're up to 15. Correct me if I'm wrong, 15 or is it more?
15.5. We are going to cross 16 this month.
Which is insane, right? So you guys have got a lot of traction. Talk to me about 3 things that you look back on the past few years, 3 things you've done that you wish you hadn't done, like mistakes essentially, and 3 things that were like the best decisions that you could have made, like you said, focusing on lead gen agencies rather than selling to literally everybody. Like what were some of the mistakes, and then also looking back, like what were some of the really good decisions you guys have made to help like put more fuel on the fire for this growth?
Yeah. Let me start by the mistakes because I think it's kind of like harder to remind them. First thing is I would have hired senior people earlier in the team, and I wouldn't have built the product with juniors because, fun fact, HeyReach initially was built by juniors, completely by juniors. We didn't have a senior person. We couldn't get a senior to join the company until 2025, I think, beginning of 2025. So like none of the senior developers wanted to work with the juniors. Nobody was kind of like taking us seriously, or 2024, I'm not sure. But I would have added seniors much earlier. Second thing, I would have paid attention to the data and the analytics and made metrics much earlier, because like we didn't have any. Do you remember my LinkedIn post about, hey, we reached 8 million, hey, we reached 9 million, 10 million? And when I was sharing the good and the bad, well, data is a mess was present since we were 2 million in ARR until we were like 11, 12, something like that. We couldn't figure out.
You figured out a way to fix it?
Not fully, but granularly, yes. So like tracking the whole user activation, the user onboarding, where we are dropping people and stuff like that. And funny enough, like we solved it a month ago with where people are dropping or something like that. So I wouldn't say that we are super polished when it comes to data on all fronts, but it's a work in progress, and it's like one of the most complex features because probably you cannot attribute everything to a perfection. So yeah, it's kind of like I would have paid more attention to this, or even hire a business analyst to be in the company from day one and figure this out. And third mistake, I would have gotten into AI stuff faster than we did. Like we started adopting AI into development and testing and support and design and stuff like that pretty late, I would say, a few months ago, when the whole world was already vibe coding and doing things. I'm not sure if it's a good or a bad thing, but like I would have done it earlier, because like I'm a huge believer in using AI to automate things. Right now, I kind of like got back into coding with Claude as well. So yeah, those are the three things I would kind of like separate as mistakes that I can remember right now. Um, the good things, niching down for sure. The riches are in the niche. So that's one of the stuff. The second thing is, I really do believe that us choosing to integrate instead of build everything all in one is the second best decision. And the third best decision is hiring this team. Like I really do believe that we have one of the best teams out there. Uh, like I spent a lot of time hiring these people. I spent a lot of time vetting and picking who to bring into the team and put them into the right position. So yeah, I think that's the third best thing.
Hiring is so key. It's one of the hardest things I've found as a founder and growing a company is hiring. It's very difficult to find those like really solid rock star employees. Um, the other thing that I've also learned over time is like, so you have a goal to get to a certain threshold in terms of revenue. Let's call it you're trying to get to 20 million now. That's your next step, right? How many people on your team have worked at a $20 million company? This is what my coach always tells me. He's like, so how are you going to know how to react, and how are you going to know how the company needs to be and operate at that point if no one on your team's ever been there? And it's just it's like, he's right. It's like, you kind of have to, if you know you're onto something, you have to hire ahead of where you're at so you can ultimately get the team to that point. Otherwise, I mean, you can get a little lucky. Like, I think both of us have to start a company, never having you started a company before, but like, uh, just to get a lot of traction, there's a little bit of luck involved, right? And so, yeah, I think we both lucked out a little bit in that scenario.
But I also always say this thing, like you can create luck. You can
Yeah.
put yourself in situations where you become lucky. And yeah, you cannot control when's the moment when you become lucky. But if you put yourself in enough situations where you can get lucky, at some point you probably are going to get lucky. So yeah, you
Yeah.
have to work toward becoming lucky.
So you're at this point. You guys have had a lot of success. Are you guys exploring any other channels? Like, what are kind of some of the growth strategies at this point? Because you guys do excellent on social. You're doing events. Is there anything else you guys kind of have on the horizon? Maybe other channel. Maybe you're doing ads. I'm not quite sure. Like, how are you guys thinking about the future?
Yeah, we are at the moment present on all of the channels, I would say, and I do believe that the game from here onward is kind of like just being present on all of the channels and just putting money where it works, like pushing where it's pulling. And at this stage, I think the business grows on outbound works really well for us right now, while we couldn't crack it for the last 3 years. Ads, they're profitable from month one, and they work really well. Content, educational content, community, experts, creators, SEO and GEO, like literally all of the channels. And at this point, in my opinion, like the real mastery is testing out the channels and adding them gradually, one by one, as the company is scaling. But after the company is like 10, 15 million, I think everything onwards is kind of like just doubling down on what's working, making sure that all of the channels that you have are ROI positive. And it just continues. It's the same way as how Coca-Cola is doing marketing. There is not a lot of innovation. It's kind of like, yeah, we have ads, we have events, we have this and that. You pour money, you make sure that you're ROI positive, and that's it.
Yeah, once you have a brand established, it makes a lot of things that much easier, right? People
Of
start
course.
to know about you. They start to like, even I've recommended it to people I know in different communities I'm in, and so that word of mouth is just, it carries a lot more weight once you have a brand. You're like, think about if you were to start over your company all over again, how hard that would be, right? Just like you just don't, no one knows who you are. You just really have to grind away to get the word out there. And I think that's one of the hardest things, at least when I talk to other agency owners. They're in very competitive spaces, like let's just say an SEO agency or a web development agency. And there's so many other companies out there that do almost the same exact thing. So it's like, how do you really, unless you've been around a lot longer and have better SEO, it's really hard to break through.
For sure.
So you guys are really focused on LinkedIn, right? That's your main. That's where everyone's running their outreach through HeyReach. Give us a sense, like, what does good outreach versus bad outreach look like? And I know it's going to vary from company to company and who you're targeting and the offer. There's lots of variables here, but like, just give us a sense, like historically, some of the stuff you've seen. What is it like? What are good practices versus bad practices?
So one of the most important things is like you don't treat LinkedIn as email. You don't blast. You treat LinkedIn as a conversation starter. Like LinkedIn is a touch point where you can show your face, show your profile, which has to be optimized, by the way, unlike email where you can have, 10,000 burner emails and then just rotate and send things. Here you have to have optimized, polished profile and get in touch with the person. Don't treat it as an email. Like, don't write long messages, thank you, your name, stuff like that. Usually try to start a conversation. It's the same as in real life. How do you start a conversation? Asking a question, making some assumption and asking about opinion and stuff like that. Usually those things work the best. Never ever pitch slap. Like, it's not a way where you kind of like just, they accept your connection, then you're like, thanks for connecting, bam, here is my offer about what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
Never send long messages because people are not reading them. The same is, I have strong opinion about voice notes that maybe some outreach experts won't agree with me, but like, I don't believe in voice notes or video outreach because I never listen to them. And when somebody just sends me 1 minute voice note and I don't know who's this guy, I'm like, no. Or a video of someone talking with my website in the background, I'm like, no. So yeah, optimized profile. Don't treating LinkedIn as an email. Not pitch slapping, and treating LinkedIn as a conversation starter is super important. And the final thing I would say is the offer.
Mm-hmm.
Like in outreach, the most important thing is the offer. I'm gonna reply and I'm gonna hop on a call and I'm gonna convert if the offer resonates with me. It doesn't matter if you're like, hey, Nick, I watched your podcast with John where you mentioned that the offer matters. What do you think about the offer? And would you be interested in this? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how much you personalize or what are the things you find about me on the internet or the gift that you're sending or something like that. If your offer is not on point with me at the right time and the right thing I'm looking for, probably we are not going to do business. So
yeah,
that's the
it has to be relevant. And I am starting to agree with you more about the video outreach and the voice notes. It could have to be like the position that I'm in and just running we have it's 63 or 73 people now. I'm drawing a blank, team members. And it's just like, I used to listen to those and now I don't. Like I get those, sometimes I'll get Zoom clips or Loom clips into my email. And I know the person probably put time and effort into it, but I'm not even watching it. And then as you said, like even if it's highly personalized, if it's long and it's on LinkedIn, I almost don't even read it.
Yeah.
And that sucks, right? But I'd much rather you condense that down into 2 sentences of what you're looking for or 3 sentences. And I'm likely to read that, but when it's long, no, I
agree.
I'm not going to give it any attention. And unfortunately, people are becoming more and more numb to email outreach and LinkedIn outreach. So you really have to keep it short.
For sure.
Yeah. All right, Nick, appreciate it. Appreciate you coming on, talking about HeyReach. Give the audience just like a 1 minute overview. Like if they have never heard of HeyReach, tell them about HeyReach, and then also where can they find you?
Yeah, so HeyReach is the LinkedIn generation tool for lead gen agencies and sales teams. It's super modular. It does exactly the job you want. You can import leads from anywhere. You can build whatever outreach sequence you want using connection requests, messages, email, follow-ups, profile views, whatever you want. And then you can manage all of the conversations from all of the LinkedIn accounts, from all of the teammates inside one place. it integrates with your whole outbound stack. You can plug it under the hood. It has super open API, CLI, Cloud Code skills, MCP, pretty much all of the things that you will ever need for running LinkedIn outreach for your sales teams or for lead gen agency. You can find us at HeyReach.io. You can find me on my Twitter, Nikolak47. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Thanks for coming on, guys. Thanks for coming on, Nick, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Thank you very much. See you. Bye-bye.